we've had some questions that have come through, and I'd like to read the first question, and I'm going to make it a big wow about this one because this is from Melanie Hawken, and it says, if we today appoint Bruce Whitfield as the new Minister for Small Business Services in South Africa, what would your top priority be to aid small businesses recover post-COVID? Bruce, over to you.
I would close down the Department of Small Business. I think it sucks up capital and has proven to be singularly, absolutely useless, about as useful as a chocolate fire guard. Its focus has been completely wrong. Its focus has been on supporting micro enterprises, which is noble, but that's not where jobs are created. That's not where opportunity happens. I would change the focus of the Small Business Ministry if I was forced to take it over and to run it, and to offer support to enterprises with longer track records, with 3-year, 4-year, 5-year track records, enterprises that employ at least 10 people and have got the potential, if properly supported, to double that number of people employed, triple and quadruple it. That would be my primary focus. I mean, yes, people who are in survivalist businesses, if you read the work of Gigi Alcock, who's done remarkable work in Casinomics and the Casinomic Revolution, for example, and he talks about the real courage and the chutzpah and the guts that so many entrepreneurs have got. That's wonderful, but that's not where money is best spent. Those guys are going to survive and succeed no matter what because they have that vested interest. If we're going to truly grow jobs in this country, we're going to truly grow this economy, we need to be moving our expectations up and changing our focus. That's where I would focus my first bit of attention.
We've got 1 million women on the network. Can we please vote? Thank you very much. Our new Minister for Small Business.
Why do you hate me? I don't want, that's real work. Don't make me do that.
It is real work, but we need that kind of work, right? My next question is from Natalie and Kim Ellis, and they're the founders of The Joinery, a luxury corporate gifting brand, sustainable, and they make all their products from recycled water bottles. And their question to you, Bruce, is, from your research, do you have a success story of a woman-owned business that made a big impact, funding opportunity, uncertain times, and was it because they took big risks that paid off?
Okay, so I mean, the Aisha story is one of the stories. The Stacey Brewer story is another story. And Stacey is typical of so many young people of her generation. She's in her mid-30s or thereabouts right now. And she went to go and work for FIFA during the World Cup in 2010 so that she could make money. And she ran all of their facilities. She wanted to make money so she could buy herself an MBA. And she went and did her MBA. And the plan was that she would then go overseas and get a job. And she would go into a large corporation and she would go and climb the corporate ladder internationally. It was during that time that she came across this idea of Spark Schools. And so she raised capital. She went to investors and raised the capital. And she and a guy called Ryan Harrison started Spark Schools. And they started with one campus in Randburg and didn't do very much for about 3 years. They didn't take too much risk. They didn't bet the farm. And every single successful entrepreneur I talk to says, never bet the farm. Don't take too much risk, because if it succeeds, that's great. You think you're a genius, and it'll catch up with you eventually. And Stacey built the business incrementally in the same way as Adrian Gore suggests that we all do. And now, of course, Spark Schools has got these 21 campuses, 15,000 kids that are being educated through Spark Schools. They're doing online schooling right now, supporting parents at home in order to do that. And that's one of my favorite South African stories of somebody who has seen an opportunity in an environment where the public schooling system is just letting down far too many kids. And it said, for the same price as government spends on a child, we will educate, make a profit, and get considerably better education outcomes. The biggest thing they do is they don't treat kids like they're idiots. They treat kids like human beings, and they do remarkable work. So that's one of my favorite stories.
Great. Thank you very much. Ladies, can I ask you that you field your questions on our Lionesses of Africa Twitter page and hashtag Lioness Enterprise. Make sure you give us your name as well as your business name. And anything that we're not able to field today, we will get to you after our enterprise event. A question from Claire Appleyard, founder of Katanuta Diamonds. I know her very well. And she says, do you see a recovery in the luxury goods sector given the depreciating rand and decreased purchasing power?
It's such a difficult question, isn't it? I mean, you look at the share prices of the big players. So these are the LVMHs of the world and the Richemonts of the world, and they're actually holding up quite well. So globally, I think the luxury goods sector is in very, very good shape. In South Africa, your market just became a whole lot smaller because luxury goods are not just about serving the Ruperts and the Oppenheimers. There's also an enormous aspirational quality to beautiful things. And I think all of us right now are looking at our household budgets and are looking at our sort of discretionary expenditure, and we are rethinking where we spend our money. So it is going to be about providing value with the beauty, I'm afraid. It's going to mean a tougher environment, a much harder environment in which to operate. But I think if you can survive through this crisis, the thing that people will want to do as quickly as they possibly can is treat themselves to beautiful things, whether that be being able to go back to your sorbet, or whether it be being able to go back to your favorite hairdresser wearing a wetsuit and goggles and a snorkel so that you can get your hair done. That sort of process is going to be beginning again. So I really do hope that it bounces back. What you need is the middle class aspiration, of course, people who want to buy up so that they can present a brave face in the face of COVID. So yes, I think there's a market. It may take a while, but it'll be back.
Right. I'm just going to read a few of the comments on the Zoom chat. It says, thanks, Brute. Upside of...
Brute.
Bruce. No, I said Bruce. He says,
Bruce.
upside of down, my next bedtime story. Thank you, Bruce. That's inspiring. And that is from Ndogozo. I've got a lady also from Africa Tikkun Services. They are based in Braamfontein, and I've been there a couple of times. They do phenomenal work for the young people. So thank you, Marianne Goodman, for tuning in. And I'm just looking if there's another question that we can take. Comment says, good stuff. We needed this kind of revival. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And then there's one from Debbie, not sure where she's from, but the comment is, the problem is not the issue, but your attitude towards the problem is loving this, clearing our minds. Fahima Mohammed says, 100% agree with Bruce. It's about sustainability and business continuity, and she's in the market of good water, if I remember correctly. And somebody says, lovely to see everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. We've got Debbie from Marcaris Consulting and Coaching. Right. Bruce, please talk to us about entrepreneurial smart. What makes you a smart entrepreneur? And that's from Tina Blaine.
I'm also seeing questions about debt and all the debt programs that are coming through. Sorry, that's where my mind was. I was reading the questions on the side. Multitasking. Yeah. It's not just you who can do that. I can do it too. But the idea, what do you think of all these debt programs? I think there's been some remarkably generous debt programs that have been announced by the likes of the Ruperts and the Oppenheimers and the Motsepes and others. And the structures of these things giving very cheap money over extended periods of time via trust structures, in order to help you get through the crisis. And the obligations are really not particularly onerous. And I think you'd be mad to pass them up if the opportunity does come to you. I got a call last night on the radio from a guy who said he got 25,000 Rand into his account from, I forget which foundation it is, but one of these foundations. And it's a case of he was able to pay some suppliers, and that helped him hugely. So I think you'd be crazy not to seriously consider lines of credit and opportunity that are provided to you if you need them. I mean, you certainly don't want to be taking on new debt and be taking on new risk at this time if you can possibly avoid it. But let's be practical about it. And then on to the question of entrepreneurs and what makes super entrepreneurs. It's people who are able to weather difficulty. I mean, you didn't go into this with your eyes closed. You went into this realizing that you were going to be trying something fundamentally different from the cozy corporate life you could have enjoyed. Maybe you got frustrated in corporate life. Whatever your motivation was for going out and starting your business, if you are Mrs. Hirsch and you and your husband both lost your jobs in roughly the same period of time, you went into it with necessity in mind, and you've thrived through many, many, many negative cycles. And they are an example of another great South African enterprise that has grown up in a very competitive space. I mean, lots of other companies selling and doing exactly what they do, but they do it with such a gusto and aplomb and a level of personalized service that we can all learn huge lessons from their experience. And they haven't allowed the lockdown either to get them down. They're finding innovative ways to serve and service their customers. So it's about courage, I think, is the most amazing attribute that all of you have. That one shared attribute that you have is extraordinary courage. And that's the one thing, if you've ever watched Lionesses in the Bush, that's the one attribute they share as well. That and big claws.
Absolutely. I'm going to take one last question, and it says, there's not much, if any, budget is put on cyber security. How does one influence that?
I tell you what, I mean, everything needs your budget. Your budget is constrained, your budget is small, your budget is limited. Cybersecurity, as we go more and more into a digital economy, and whether we like it or not, we are in a digital space in perpetuity. There was that fabulous meme that came out the other day. What has driven your digital strategy? Is it staff demand? 2, management? 3, COVID-19. And of course, the only one answer to that is COVID-19, because it's forced all of us online to think differently about that. And there's a question just on the chat which says, I hear you saying a mindset and keeping in mind it won't happen overnight, but most of us are having to reconfigure our businesses and let go of our staff, even though we're trying to retain them through consignment basis. How can one get assisted without further indebting yourself? How do we stay business smart? I mean, it is the hardest crisis that any of you have ever faced. 2008 pales in insignificance. 2008 was a slow burn. This is a short, sharp shock. Get the help you need, because if you don't get the help you need, you're not going to make it through. And whether that's network help, whether it's financial help, whether it's support, whether it's restructuring assistance, there's a lot of help available. I appeal to you before it's too late. Don't let yourself go the way of SA Express or Edcon or other large entities which are failing at the moment, and they won't be the only ones. Get help before it's too late.
And I just want to touch on the Edcon conversation you've had. And the question is, following on with the discussions with Edcon Chief and others at the top of the retail chain, how does he and they see us coming out of this? Will retail have to offer all items at 80% off to clear the shelves, or we'll just have to jump back into the season, hold our back, our stock, and go on with that?
Again, I suppose it depends on your scale and your ability to withstand it. I mean, Grant Patterson's looking forward to opening up on Friday as they appoint the business rescue practitioners, and the shelves will be stocked and they will see what moves. Again, it depends on your market. What is your market prepared to pay for your product? Are you going to sit with product that nobody wants to buy on your shelves, or are you going to get rid of that stock to make sure that you can be ready for when things open up again? Don't sit with stock, particularly in the retail space, because I mean, it's so ephemeral, isn't it? It just goes, stuff goes out of fashion so quickly. People lose their appetite so fast. Test your markets. See what your customers are prepared to pay.
Bruce, last question, and I love this one. It's from Margaret Hirsch.
Margaret Hirsch. Well,
yes, and the question is,
so powerful.
What would you do to inspire your workforce if you know you won't be able to pay them long term?
It is such a difficult thing, isn't it, Margaret? I mean, the very least thing you can do, and I'm sure that it is something that you're exploring, and the UIF is complaining that not enough employers are engaging with UIF and are applying on their staff behalf. It's about, I suppose, telling your staff that there will be jobs, maybe not the jobs that they've got, there will be jobs at the end of this thing, and keeping them on the payroll as long as possible. And we're all doing it, I hope, to a greater or lesser extent. But at least the least that you can do as a great employer is by giving maximum support. So if you can't do it yourself, going through every single channel that you can, and it should be your primary focus right now, in addition to helping your business survive, to keeping your people alive. Because when things do resume, and they will resume one day in some form or other, you're going to want people who are going to remember that you were loyal to them. If you expect them, you don't want to be retooling and restaffing and retraining at the end of this mess. You want to be able to call on your people and say, hey guys, I hope that you're still available. Please come back. Let's do this again. Let's rebuild this business. If you've treated them well on the way out, they may be more of the mindset to support you on the way back in and on the way back up again.